right, thank you so much for staying with us. And once again, this is the biggest breakfast show in the land, the Big Sunrise Breakfast Show on Movie TV. And this morning, we are, hosting Professor Clive Chirwa, one of the renowned professors in the engineering field. And we're going to get to see what kind of works he's worked on and what kind of impact he has made on the international community and getting back home here in Zambia. What else is technology and innovation is bringing about? I'm privileged to host him. And Professor, good to have you this morning and welcome to the Breakfast Show.
Thank you very much indeed for having me. It's a great pleasure to come back home.
Great. And I must say, I think I'm meeting you for the very second time. The other time that we shook hands was at the time that you were at the Copperbelt University. I was a student then. I know you can't remember, but that was the first time we met. But good to have you once again.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed.
All right, great. Now, Professor, I know to some people that may not really get to know you, before we get to the main topic of the project that you've currently worked on, please kindly share with us your background in the engineering field, a little bit of that.
Yeah. Of course, I graduated from Freer Secondary School and went to do engineering at university. I graduated and became an academic, teaching engineering subjects at University of Zambia and other universities around the world. I've taught at nearly 120 universities around the world, so I've grasped all the different ways of teaching engineers for the future, and at the same time of giving to the world. So my engineering, what I can say, career is a long stretch. It starts from automotive and it ends up into space technology. And I've participated in all these areas by producing product and designing product and having innovations which have actually inputted into all these machines.
Right.
Now, if we start from automotive, I've designed cars, I've designed part of the Mercedes-Benz, I've designed part of the Toyota, I've designed part of BMW, I've designed part of Land Rover, I've designed part of Range Rover, I've designed, and I've got now my own design, which is called Auviv, which is the minibus which I brought to Zambia to alleviate some of the problems the transport system has in this country.
Beautiful, and that's quite, a rich CV. And getting to this Auviv product, vehicle, that you have, been working on, maybe how long have you been working on, and what is this particular, Auviv bus or technology bringing about, looking that there's also been an advancement of technology. So what kind of technology are you using to build and design this particular, project?
Yes, my vehicle has got the same chassis as the Toyota, because I designed part of the Toyota, especially the front-end Toyota Quantum.
Right.
So within that particular context, our body, my body and Toyota body, come from the same company which produces those bodies.
Right.
And what I've done is I've changed the suspension system to meet the Zambian conditions, while Quantum hasn't got that particular change. I came here, collected the data on dynamics of the vehicle itself, drove all the way around the country to actually get the data, and I implemented that data into my design of the suspension system to meet the Zambian conditions. So that's exactly what I did, and that differs from there. And if you get inside the vehicle itself, you find that the minibus which I've designed, it's a range of vehicles which I've designed, give you the capability to have a better drive. To give you the capability, if you are the owner of that minibus, to know exactly where your minibus is and how many people are going on the minibus itself.
Right.
It also gives you the telematics, which controls the whole vehicle system, and all these are new technology which are in there. You've got informatics, it has got a television in the bus itself, and the bus is outside actually, in the bus itself.
Oh, I think we'll be trying to, we need to take it out. It's outside.
Yeah, it's outside.
It's the one that you came with?
Yes.
Beautiful.
So you see that the telematics, and people can sit and enjoy the ride, rather than the way it is at the moment. We are packing people as if they're animals. No, we need to make sure that we start admiring ourselves and respecting ourselves in the travel.
I think having to explain how well you think this particular project of the bus will fit here in Zambia. You've worked in Europe, you've worked in the US and different continents. How do you look at the terrains and the weather of Zambia with regards to this project, and how efficient will it be looking at Zambia?
Yeah, especially the efficiency itself. I mean, this is the most efficient bus because it has designed to African terrain. And that is the beauty. And the African terrain, which I used the data to design the suspension system, to make sure that the vehicle is pretty robust in terms of its exploitation.
Right.
And in fuel efficiency, you've got, for example, the bus I'm talking about, minibus, has got 3.5 liters to 5.5 liters of 100-kilometer travel. So it's very efficient in terms of fuel consumption. So when you get there, you've got a 3-liter engine in terms of the diesel, and we've got other which are petrol engines, but the efficiency is pretty high. And it makes sure that the little money people in Zambia get can actually go a long way.
All right. And also we're looking at, in the next very few years, we'll be looking at the technology of electric cars. Any plans of Auviv also having a foresight of that?
In fact, we are working on that. We are testing our battery pack now in China. Of course, we designed a battery pack to sustain this certain particular loading and having what you call a load capacity which will be enabled to drive on our vehicle. So we are working on that, and we nearly through with the testing, because as you understand, you have to get legislation.
Yes.
We've got EU legislation and standards to meet, because the same battery pack will be coming to Europe and will be coming to Africa. So we need to make sure that it meets that European standards. So that's what we are working on. We are nearly there. We had some modifications to be made to the battery pack itself.
Right.
Especially the problem which we have had, we couldn't find enough of the copper wires and the copper cables which we need to put into that system. And I'll be coming to that.
When Zambia is is a hub of copper.
I'll be coming yeah, and this is where the paradox is. Yeah.
Oh, all right.
You see where the paradox is. Zambia produces copper,
yes.
But when you look at it, it's not using its maximum capacity by sending copper outside. It's really a sad story.
All right. Let's get to look at, you've brought this particular event. Has it been launched yet officially here in Zambia? Because a few years back, it was scheduled to launch officially in 2020, somewhere there. How has it been, the establishment here in Zambia? With the policies of the Zambian government, whichever, administration, how are they making it easy for you now to get to establish this particular project here? And what is it that you're required of, doing?
Yes, if you recall, I was made aware of the difficulties in transportation systems within Zambia by the Ministry of Transport in 2016, 2017. And they asked me if I could come up with a solution. So I went away and designed this particular bus, thinking that the government and the people of Zambia will be buying these buses in tandem. But here in Zambia, we have not sold even a single vehicle since 2019. I can understand the pandemic has been a big problem, but we sell quite a lot in Ghana and we sell quite a lot in Kenya.
Already?
But yes, but here in Zambia, we have sold nothing. And this is the country where we designed the vehicle for. You can imagine. I brought the vehicle to the government in the last administration. And I brought the ambulance, which was about $65,000, but they went to buy a $250,000, which had nothing apart from the small instrumentation. What mine was equipped with high technology, which can save lives, especially when you're traveling patients from one place to another. So it's those complications. We are in business and we are in academic, so we are not politicians. What we want to do, we don't want to push. If somebody likes our product, they can come and buy it. So that's exactly where we are now.
I know there was some resistance of sort, or not very good response from the previous administration. But we're looking at the new administration that we have in place here in Zambia. Have you tried to get to engage in this administration, looking at also key stakeholders with regards to this particular innovation? Have you tried to get in touch with them, and how's been their response?
Yeah, the response has been great with this new administration. In fact, I'll be meeting some people so that we can actually arrange how we can facilitate some of the acquisition of these minibus. Because what we must understand is, if we start manufacturing this minibus here, we'll be creating jobs. We'll be creating everything which we need to do. We are bringing innovation to Zambia. We are bringing productivity to Zambia, and that creates employment. And we need to do that in order to give our people a chance to work at a higher level. But if we do not we keep on buying foreign vehicles from outside, then we'll be giving all those benefits to the outside world rather than actually bring them to Zambia. So that's a point which I will be drumming to the new administration and presenting to them that Zambian made is as good as many, because I've designed all these other vehicles which they drive around.
Yes.
Yeah? So I've participated in their design, especially in the crash worthiness capability. Without my contribution to crash worthiness capability, no vehicle will be on the road today in the world. So it is that simple. And we have to make sure that we actually take they can test it. It's perfect. Everybody who has driven it has actually said it's better than my second competitor, which I won't mention the name, of course, but everybody knows that there's only one.
I need to validate it. I need to take a drive of that, the Auviv vehicle.
That's right, yes.
All right. Let's get to look at what you think about the innovation levels or technology in Zambia to bring it home. How do you look at the technology? Looking at, in recent times, there's been advancement, obviously, in Europe and these other continents of technology, Asia and everything else. But looking at Africa and Zambia to be specific, how do you look at the innovation levels?
Yeah, innovation levels in Zambia can come through what you call value addition.
Right.
Yes. If you look at other countries which have developed from where they were to the next level, they are not those who remain at the bottom, because Zambia at the moment is at the bottom of the food chain, and you cannot be at the bottom of the food chain and develop. So what you have to do, you have to start elevating yourself, and you elevate yourself through a mechanism which is going to add value to whatever product you have. We know that Zambia is one of the countries which produces copper. Perhaps copper is our main product which we need to concentrate on at this particular moment in time.
Right.
Then it can be followed by agriculture. But copper and other minerals are not as beneficial to Zambia than copper. So we need to look at that very carefully and start looking at it in terms of creating income and revenue for the nation.
And looking at, I mentioned earlier on, you've worked with the Corporate University for, I don't know for how long, but looking at academia, how do you look at it? Is Zambia capable of producing the quality engineers that will be able to bring about the much needed innovation and the value addition, and just to get to, to grow the engineering industry here in Zambia?
Yes, I was at University of Copperbelt University for nearly 8 months or to 10 months, and during that particular time, I changed a lot of syllabus and I changed a lot of things which were actually being done there, and that period gave me an insight to see how universities in Zambia work. I think the problem which we've had is that our education system is still colonial. We have maintained the colonial type of education system, which actually limits us to have to think outside the box. So we are giving all these subjects which are streamlined for serving a certain particular environment or certain particular community, but we are not giving in order to have innovations. So what we are going to do, I'm trying to propose to the Ministry of Education, is to reassess and revamp the education system, especially at university level. In engineering, for example, I don't know about other subjects, but in engineering, for example, we still teach subjects which are all dated. And those subjects must be taken out to think of the new subjects which are coming in. And mechatronics, which we set at CBU, is one of the subjects which we need to concentrate on, especially in modern years where you've got mechanical and electronics coming into being.
All right. And how do you think that, what led us to a point where we delayed in the transition and we're still using, this particular outdated, like you have called it, outdated, subject and everything else? What led us to get to be stuck to this level and not advancing to a whole new level?
I think the problem has been the whole entire system in Zambia. It does not allow us to move out of that straitjacket. Let me say this. When I've advised countries like Laos, Vietnam, to actually get to another level in terms of academic excellence, I've always told them, I said, you look at what you have as your main source of income and try to concentrate as much as possible to that source of income, and then from there diversify immediately into other fields. So for example, when I was giving lectures in Vietnam, for example, where I've done a lot of consultancy for them in terms of industrialization and in terms of academia to move to another level.
Right.
I told them, I said, you have your classification. They have also grade 12, and they go to to grade 13 and 14 at the same school. But here, what we have is that we are wasting too much time in the first 2 years at university.
All right.
Yeah, the first 2 years at university should go back to school. That means the school should go to grade 12, and from grade 12 they should add grade 13 and grade 14, to the art school itself.
All right.
Okay, and this is what we call in Europe A-levels.
Oh, yeah.
So all those 2-year A-levels must be done at school. And this will save a lot of money for students as well as the university. So that when they get into university, they will be readily available. They will do all those subjects which they want to get in, 3 subjects or 4 subjects, it doesn't matter. And they will get into the fields at university in the classes and the stream where they are in order to meet the necessary needs. And from there, they will reduce the number of years. What we need to do is to maximize the learning capability of every student and making sure that they learn as quickly as possible, at the same time push them into industry to start delivering for the nation.
And also, we can cite you as an example. We get to look at what maybe limits or make other professionals in different fields that Zambians, but in the diaspora, are doing great works, great innovation and consultations. There's so many in the academia or in the industries. What do you think limits them to be bringing the much needed development back home?
That's a good question. Yeah, you know what? In 2012, I was actually in Japan, sleeping, and I received a call from the previous administration, the president, Michael Sata, at that particular time. I didn't know where the call was coming from, and they were telling me to come back home to come and help the Zambia Railways, who actually had a problem in running the system. So, I mean, I came back. I dropped everything. I dropped my family. I dropped the work which I was doing. Even the work I was doing at NASA, I dropped it on the side.
Rushing back home.
Rushing back home to come and say, let me come and see what the problem is. And I came here, designed everything. Designed the entire railway system, designed the rail locomotives. And those locomotives which I designed were not implemented. They were not implemented because something happened whereby they were trying to divert a little bit of money here and there, and I refused. I said I didn't come to do that in this particular problem, and then from there problem began. And I was here only for 3 months. I was here only for 3 months. And the rest of it is history, of course. But those trends now are implemented in Senegal. You go to Senegal between Dakar, you see all those trends which which are designed for Zambia. They are working in Senegal. You can go to Dakar and you see them. And now they are going into phase 2, phase 3 of those same machines. So you can see how politics in this country play a big role instead of innovation. I don't know why Zambia is such a difficult country to implement or to bring its own expertise back home because of the great, I don't know why. Every time anybody comes to Zambia to try and improve something, it's so negativity. And you can't work in negativity. We always work in perspective so that we can see everything moving ahead.
But this is maybe why there's been a debate to say foreigners, people with foreign origins get to thrive more or survive and get to establish big businesses here in Zambia than the indigenous Zambians themselves. It could be a play of politics. And this is what themselves, the politicians, at sometimes they've also made a comment to say, well, there's always a blame game. Anyway, aside from that, and moving on forward, what is the target? Because I know with these particular projects that you have and the dreams, we should have a target to what are we looking at? Because time is moving. You're already in a new phase of new other technologies. To what time frame do we have for that you are thinking maybe you could start to establish the Auviv project here in Zambia and get it running?
Yeah, we had the plan from 2019, but COVID has delayed us tremendously. Oh, yeah. You see, 3 years we haven't done anything, and the factory was shut because COVID was just out of this world. Mm-hmm. So we just started moving now. We just started moving, started manufacturing, and but the process is going slowly as we move on. But what we are planning to do, once we get everything and we start running, and we need orders from Zambia, like we have orders from Kenya and, yes, and Kenya. So what we have is, if we get those orders, then we can say, oh, we have a market in Zambia. At the moment, we don't have a market in Zambia. So we need to develop that market in Zambia in order for us to start investing in Zambia.
What are you doing to sell your product anyway?
Yeah, we are advertising. We have talked a lot. We have presented a lot. Mm-hmm. We had a launch, if you remember, in 2019. Mm-hmm. We had everything. Everybody knows about Auviv, but people cannot actually take money and put on Auviv. They would like to put money somewhere else, but that they're just cheating themselves, because Auviv is a much more advanced and a better vehicle than any one of the minibuses in the world today, which is in Zambia.
All right, great. I know you may not be a motivational speaker, but Professor, I'd love you to get a word to maybe some people in the academia or some young minds, because Zambia is birthing, obviously, brilliant minds in the School of Engineering. To be specific, the field that you're coming from. What is it that you can tell them in order for them also to grow, maybe to the levels that you have reached?
Yes, I had a presentation at the University of Zambia the day before yesterday, where I presented the different aspects of, it was not, it's a motivation speech, but it's more to do with engineering and the prospects of engineering in this country. Right. Because I'm so disappointed to see that many of the projects are done by foreigners. Where are all the engineers who are supposed to be here doing those jobs? So this is why I was talking to them. I was telling them exactly what we need to do. So they need to start thinking of how they can help this country, try to motivate the nation by designing things, by putting things out there, by not looking for jobs, by them creating the jobs as engineers. Because first of all, you must understand that engineering, if you're an engineer, you are a producer, really, of national revenue. Yes. Because it starts from engineering to produce the revenue, then the other professions, medicine, economics, everybody else, all these are recyclers of the money which has been created by engineers. So if there are no engineering creating that wealth, then we will not move anywhere, because we will not have money for the lawyers and the medical doctors and conductors to recycle. So I was telling them all the whole story of actually they can move forward and contribute to this country. And that is extremely important to every engineer. When I came in 2019, I found that there was a lot of constructions going on in Zambia. I was so pleased. But this time when I've come, there's nothing. I want to know why. Because all those jobs which we were creating during that time have all been disappeared. Yes. So they've gone back to square one. I understand that perhaps the money which is not there, they can actually do this. But we have to understand again that we need to create our own wealth. And the value addition which I've been talking about to the students is extremely important. They need to contribute and get into that supply chain. Why is it important? Because at the moment, we are running around looking for 12 billion. And that 12 billion, I've participated in meetings with IMF for other countries. Right. Yes, for other countries. Of course, I won't mention which countries because they are there. Yes. For other countries. And those countries have passed through the same route. And the IMF will stretch you and stretch you and stretch you. We have spent already 9 months. Within these 9 months, we would have made a lot of money. If we had taken value addition from the state where it go, we would have made more than 50 billion. Instead of running for 12 billion to actually look for it.
I know, Professor, not to curtail you, but that's what many people would say. But the question would be, if you're saying we could have made already in 9-10 months that amount that you have mentioned, but how can we make that money?
Exactly. That's what I was talking about, value addition.
Right.
If you look at the whole stream of country, I know copper is here. The government, I think it owns about 20% of the copper.
Yes, 20% and 80% is, yeah.
Yeah, 20% of the copper. I don't have the correct figures, but I think it's in that same term. That 20% of the copper would have been taken to streamline on the value addition.
Right.
Yeah. Instead of, then the others can actually be sold outside. You start little, and then from there you move on. At the moment, South Africa is spending, the government of South Africa is spending $30 to $40 billion to make the wire and cable industry strive in South Africa.
Right.
But where are they getting the copper from? They're getting the copper from Zambia. So we would have also tried to actually do that and then create our own industry. You don't have to build new industry or build new factories everywhere. The mines have got enough space which is empty.
Right.
Yeah, they've got enough. I've been there. I've seen it. I've seen when you move from the copper cathode area, all other buildings are empty. So all those buildings could be occupied and very quickly move. Because to create wire and create cables, it doesn't take long. Within 3 months, you start running. Equipment arrives, and then from there, you start running. But what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have that market. We are trying to run the market to Europe and United States and Asia. Remember that these particular countries are saturated. We get copper wire and cables into Zambia from overseas.
Yes.
Even Africa itself gets 94.7% of its wire and copper from countries like China and everywhere else. We can occupy this African space and become the supplier of wire and cables throughout Africa. And that is a 62 billion business. And Zambia can occupy that space. At the moment, we occupy zero.
All right. Let's also maybe, as we're trying to look at, obviously, Zambia and the projects that would best suit Zambia, what other projects have you worked with? You've worked with, obviously, like in the, some vehicles. You've designed some parts of different vehicles that you mentioned. But getting to look at what are some of the renowned projects that you've worked out with some international organizations out there?
Yes, as you know, I've worked on the rail industry. Yes, I mean, of course, I brought that even to Zambia.
Right.
But I've also worked in space industry, aircraft industry. If you look at many of the aircraft which fly there today, the landing gear is part of my design. Right. If you look at the fuselage itself, which is the mainframe, on the Airbus 380, for example, you find that I've tested many of those materials in order for them to justify and meet the standard before they were used into manufacturing the aircraft.
Right.
I've also participated in many of the what you call aircraft that give you the capability to make sure that we fly those aircraft. If you look at the new last project which I did which is now in practice, this is looking at the window shutters in Dreamliner, which is the Boeing, and you find that they are using a system which I researched and developed, which now, if you go into the plane, you draw those shutters. Now you don't have to do that. You just have to press a button and the window becomes opaque and you can't see outside. It maintains the lighting inside the aircraft. So, and when you look at space industry, my product have landed on moon. My product have gone all the way beyond the galaxy where we are.
Great.
And they've come. And so you can see that I've actually participated in all these areas due to the fact that I've been very lucky. And the lucky which I have is because the profession, or perhaps the subject which I chose to become a specialist in, is a very complex one, and only few people in the world can achieve that.
Great.
And this is why perhaps I've been very lucky in those particular cases. In the world, I can say carefully that I'm within the 5 top world specialists in my area of specialty.
Ah, beautiful. Professor, let's get to look at the particular Auviv project and that bus the vehicle. All right, so it was being filmed, so there were a few pictures. All right, to the viewers out there, that's the product that Professor Clive Chirwa has designed, and there it is. It's just outside the studios, and right there, that's the product. And that's the project that we are talking about now. And I know to some of the people that are maybe now getting to think exactly. New technology, and under this new administration, we've got a new ministry now, the Ministry of Science and Technology. What could you be your definition of that particular ministry, and what do you think it should work with, or for it to grow even the innovation here in Zambia? How do you think this ministry should go about?
Yeah. I'm glad you have called it the Ministry of Science and Technology. Mm-hmm. You didn't call it the Ministry of Technology and Science. I'm pleased about that. I think the whole term of calling it the Ministry of Technology and Science is totally wrong, because you cannot have technology without science. First of all, you do the science, then you get the technologies out of it.
All right.
And therefore, me, I would have liked to see the Ministry of Science and Technology as a hub, as a brain, as a think tank.
Right.
And as a think tank to produce many of the technologies which we need for Zambia. Mm-hmm. At the moment, when you look at the ministry itself, I'm not very familiar with a lot of things within the ministry, but from where I've read about the ministry is that there are a lot of things which have been swept in there. There's the colleges which have been swept in there. There are other things which have been swept in there. I would like those colleges to go back to Ministry of Education. Why? Because I want continuity. At the moment, the Ministry of Education has been separated. It goes to Ministry of Technology, where colleges, craft schools, and all those craft schools must actually be feeding into where? Into all the academic route, all the way to university. But at the moment, they are separated. So if we have to do the with the Ministry of Science and Technology, really what we need to do, we need to create some of the information which are needed for Zambia. I want the Ministry of Science and Technology to say, yes, we are going to concentrate in developing technologies in the copper industry, for example.
Right.
And within the copper industry, the Ministry of Science and Technology must start up with the different areas of science and technology to collect the data on copper value addition, to see exactly where copper value addition is, and to prepare the government to the particular part of manufacturing. At the moment, they are concentrating on IT, which is good, but IT is something which we can borrow from outside, because IT cannot make us money. What makes us money is copper. IT can come as we borrow from outside. I've seen a lot of calling for submission of subjects all for IT and other stuff. But what we need to do is we need to add value to our copper and agriculture. And if they can develop and bring out those technologies and develop the technologies within that, that would be great for that ministry. They've got what you call IDC.
Yes.
To me, IDC means nothing at the moment.
What do you mean it means nothing?
Yes, I'll tell you why.
Yes.
Because IDC, at the moment, is a dead horse. What it does, it just duplicates what is done at all those industries which are within it. If you look at all the parastatals have got boards, so they move from there to other boards, they move from there to other boards, all the way to the board of IDC. So all this is a waste of resources. I would like to see IDC to go back to Ministry of Finance and remain there and control by director as it used to be. Then IDC to change the remit into a think tank. That's the way I want to see it.
Great.
To change the meaning into a think tank, whereby the IDC can start now building industry as it is. At the moment, it's doing nothing. It has been there for how long? I'm not sure. 10, 15 years, perhaps, I don't know.
Yes, but do you think in its current state it cannot build up industries, or maybe perform to some levels that you want it to?
No, it cannot. It cannot, because I've tried it. I've been there. I've tried it. I've talked to them. There are too many. What you call bureaucratic. It's all the apparatchik. And the other thing which I want to tell you about IDC, I'm so shocked that in IDC, there are one or two engineers. IDC is not an economic. It's not about economists. It's about engineers who are there to develop industries. And industries can only be developed by engineers. By engineers. Right, yes, but economists, all that is all about economics. And the economists cannot do anything. They cannot generate income. They can be there to count. You can put an engineer there to run the whole show and make sure that innovations are done and make sure that we do the science and the technology which we have together within. This is what I was talking about, within. So at IDC, once it goes back to what we call to Ministry of Finance, then IDC will come under what? Under Ministry of Science and Technology. And then from there, it will be able to develop all these things which I'm talking about. And that's the way to do it. And that, it will be very efficient and very effective to give us the needs and the technologies which we are looking for to develop this country. Otherwise, we'll be actually rotating. We'll be chasing what we call chasing the shadow, and we'll never catch it.
All right. You've explained very well. Would you be willing maybe to take up some of these, the mandate? If you were given such a mandate to take up the reins of the IDC and maybe a different organization, who would you be able to pick it up?
Yeah, it's a very good question, because I tried to do that once and my fingers were burnt.
Are you afraid of burning your fingers?
And my fingers were burnt. So, yes, this is my country. I was born here. Anything which I can do for this country, I'll be ready for that. Great. Because I've done a lot for other countries in the world. I've done a lot for United Kingdom. I've done a lot for entire Europe, because the entire Europe I've been what you call the advisor to the Commissioner for Transport and to the Commissioner for Transport and Safety. For nearly 7 years, I've been advisor to United Kingdom Secretary of State for Transport and Secretary of State for Education for many, many years. Not continuously, but in and out.
Yes. I've
been in China. I've been an advisor to the Chinese industry for over 10 years now. Japan, I've participated in Japanese. I'm also there, working with the Japanese for many, many years. In small countries like Vietnam, Laos, you go to Papua Guinea, which is my latest project, which I'm doing there. Papua Guinea. All these tiny, Bangladesh, of course, yeah, I nearly forgot about Bangladesh. All these countries have contributed to their wake-up call that they've become now. They went through IMF as well, and IMF could not deliver. They always stretch you. And then once they started making their own product, they actually removed all those debt which they had. So those are the things which I'm talking about. Yes.
All right.
This is my country, and I'll be able to help.
Beautiful. I'm going to ask you about IMF maybe a little bit later. But when we come to the Auviv Bus, you've mentioned of the unique features and the new technology that you have used. What is it that is, making it very unique from the other products that are already on the market? Yeah.
Very unique. There are two aspects of very unique. On the market today, what you see, if you see any other vehicles, minibuses, for example, which I'm talking about, because the same technology goes in all our vehicles. It goes in the ambulance which we produce. It goes in
it's under Auviv, the ambulances?
Yes, yeah, they're Auviv, yes. If you go to our website, auviv.com, you'll find that you see all the product we produce. It's not only the minibus. We produce the ambulance. We produce the police vehicle. Yes, police vehicles. Instead of transporting people from remand prisons to courts, they can be taken humanely into an Auviv police minibus, which has been created specifically for that particular function. We have a refrigerator, and at the same time, we have a dry cargo. So we have got a spring of these vehicles around, which we can do. It's not only for people, but even for cargo. So the unique things which we have is nobody in the world has actually done analysis of the African terrain. Everybody does analysis of their own country where they come from, where the designs are made. And many of my competitors have done that. So what we did ourselves is to bring and get that information, the data, from these roads. We came, we collected by driving on different terrain, and at the same time, we developed that and developed the suspension system. Now, if you drive the Auviv minibus today, you feel that when you go on the bump, you won't even feel the bump as much as the other vehicles you can have. Because we have streamlined what we have done. We have used at the back, of course, the three spring system, and the damper itself is actually in two motions. The first motion is to give you the cushioning of the initial impact, and the second motion is to alleviate that particular impact to go into the body so that you can actually feel that, that load. So that is only in Auviv. There's no other vehicle which produces that. We have actually alleviated that particular problem.
Brilliant.
Now, in terms of telematics, we connect everything together with using internet technology and to bring into the informatics within the vehicle itself.
Right.
So if, for example, you are using it as a school bus, let's say we are using it as a school bus, which is meant for, you'll find that the headmaster can sit in the office and can know exactly where the vehicle is and can communicate with the driver and the pupils, the students within the bus from the office. So that also is something which we have done new in this particular. It has got Wi-Fi within it, which can be used by any student while on motion. So you've got all these things which we have put in, and that's the uniqueness. And the lighting system, perhaps, is the best of them all. Because in modern lighting system, you find that you've got Venix type of lights. And that gives you the capability to see further. At the same time, if there's another vehicle coming on the outside, the lights will shift and they will change direction, not to actually blind the driver who's coming in front of you. So it will give them the capability to see that they drive safely and pass you further. Then it will return to its original position and you continue the drive.
I think, Professor, as you give out your last remarks, I would also want, once again, to get to market this product. This is a very, very beautiful product. And I think it being made by Zambian, there's been a campaign to buy Z campaign to be using products that are made locally here in Zambia. And this is what many people have been campaigning for and advancing this particular agenda. As you give us your last remarks to end our conversation, I want you once again to get to market this product so that in no time we'll be seeing this particular vehicle on the roads, on the streets of Lusaka and across the country.
Yes, especially the ambulance. Now, the CDF going around here, if they could buy one of them, they buy buses and they can buy ambulances, that would be great. Because the price is good. And
it's competitive?
It's extremely competitive, extremely competitive. And the technology in there is 10 times better than the technology in many of the ambulances they are buying today. Yeah, because that was meant for me to actually give to my country. It wasn't meant for me to make money, it was meant for me to give to my country. I did everything out of my heart to give, to make sure that in the minibus, which I did for the people so they can drive safely, at the same time they drive in dignity. The ambulance, which I did so that people can survive the journey from where they are sick to the hospital, and so on and so. So this has been done out of my belief that I'm a Zambian, I'm an African. I want to make sure that our people are well catered for. And that's exactly why I produced this particular vehicle and all the vehicles which I've done.
All right. Professor, it's been a pleasure having you on the Breakfast Show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great. So there you go about it, and that's what you had been seeing right there is the Auviv bus vehicle. You call it a city cruiser?
City cruiser, yes. Yes,
city cruiser, and that has been made by a Zambian brand. And if you say Buy Z campaign, this is what we mean. That vehicle has been designed by a Zambian renowned professor in the School of Engineering, on the field of engineering. This is Professor Clive Chirwa, and it's on the market, and very soon we could be seeing this particular product right on the streets of Lusaka, on the streets of any other city here in Lusaka. This is the man we have been speaking with this morning. Right about now, we're going to take a recap of the stories that we have in the news, and on the other side, we're beginning to get to close up with the breakfast show for today's edition. Do take a listen to these particular stories. On the other side, we'll be coming to close.